economy needs to thrive, a plan we continue to pursue.
Question number 4, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my question is to the Minister of Police and asks, does the closure of police stations meet current government policy?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, the location of police stations is an operational matter for the Commissioner. However, it is government policy that police should be continually looking at improving the way the public can access police services. Earlier this year, police announced the locations of 20 new 24/7 response bases, which means that these stations will be operational 24/7, covering 200,000 more New Zealanders. These steps make police more accessible and more visible so that officers can be where people need them, when they need them. And of course, Budget 17 delivered funding for 500 more officers straight to the front line over the next 4 years. But technology is changing how we communicate across the board, and New Zealanders do want to engage with police in different ways, whether it's by text or email or face-to-face in their own homes or businesses.
No. Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, given the 31 police stations her government either closed or relocated between 2009 and 2014, and now the closure of 21 police stations around the country, including Warkworth and Wellsford, can she give an assurance to New Zealanders that her government will not close down any more police stations in the next 12 months?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, I repeat what I said in the primary question, is that the location of police stations is an operational matter for the Commissioner. So he or she would make those decisions. However, I do also think that the member is mixing up police stations with front counters.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So to the Minister, how will these closures make police more visible in the communities, given her statement in February that it's important, quote, knowing there's a nearby police presence at all times, end of quote, or fit with her promise that 95% of New Zealanders would live within 25 kilometres of a 24/7 police presence? Are we all expected to move house now?
Order. The last part is unnecessary. The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, as I said in my answer to the primary question, we do expect the police to continually improve people's access to their services. But that doesn't necessarily mean a police man or woman sitting in a police station. Today, people want to communicate with them using technology. They want to have them out on the streets. And to my knowledge, not many criminals actually come into police stations in order to commit crimes.
Exactly. This is supplementary.
Supplementary question.
Very good point, Minister. So, Minister, with that last comment in mind, if closure is due to her government's occupational safety and health law changes, with volunteers not having, quote, necessary training and physical protection measures from criminals are not going to come in apparently now, what does this mean for community patrols, or for of New Zealand, or for the Māori wardens, or for Neighbourhood Watch, or for any person who assists police voluntarily in their work? Are they going to get chopped next?
Order. The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, the police do value the services of volunteers, and there are many. However, some front counters have been temporarily closed to the public due to safety concerns while the police complete a full front counter safety review.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, then can the Minister give the communities of Orewa, Warkworth, Wellsford, Arrowtown, Whangaparoa, Taita, Kilburnie, or any of the others listed in the announcement, and all of their volunteers, that all of their volunteer stations will be reopened?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I said in the answer to the primary question, that is a decision for the Commissioner. That is an operation. Well, it is the answer. That is the law, actually. But what I can guarantee is that police services will be maintained in those communities.
Order. Supplementary question, Stuart Nash.
Is the increase in the amount of P on the streets higher because of a lack of local community-based police over the last 9 years?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
On behalf of the Minister, no.
Question number 5. Kelvin Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister for Māori Development, does he believe